Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler out in California, and producer Zack, the best executive producer in the game. Guns out. Zach's been working out in his garage. It's like 100 degrees, and Zach's texting me like, you want to come work out in the garage? And thankfully, I was at the gym. I mean, I would work out with you any day of the week, Zach, but it's impressive that you're working out in 100-degree heat. And we're not quite in the dog days of summer, but like it's hot out here right now.
I meant to call Zach back. Zach, you called me today, and I got home at like 3 a.m. from Pittsburgh yesterday. It was just Knox today on the couch. I was going to return your call, but I'm just guessing it was to work out.
It was to work out.
Zach's putting out the bat signal. He's not getting the responses.
I appreciate that.
Jack, how was the trip to Pittsburgh? Jack went out to see Pirates and Mets this weekend.
That was great. Hit all 3 games. Pirates swept the Mets. It was fun. It was a great time. We outscored the Mets 30-4.
Yeah, it seemed like every single time I checked the score of the game, you guys were up 8-1. It was pretty funny.
9-1, 9-2, and then 12-1.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was a great series.
Remember we predicted this? We said a Pirate sweep would happen there.
That's what the Pirates do. And
that's the PNC Park is always voted the number 1 park of all 4 major sports.
Yeah.
Which is, that's why it's a Mount Rushmore of stadiums.
It's about the Philly there. It's about the Mets there. I don't know. It's good.
Ziggy, how about you? A good weekend?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't see the Pirates, Ziggy?
No, I did not see the Pirates.
Just an okay weekend out in California?
I mean, I'm just paying the bills, man.
No, you're all right, Ziggy. You seem a little down. Is everything okay?
What?
Is everything okay? You seem a little down.
Look, man, I'm disappointed the Steelers might actually be good this year.
So
people hate to admit it, but
so yeah, today, I said it's not quite.
Jack is proven right about this Steelers team. I'm preparing myself to be disappointed. If Jack is proven right about this Steelers team, you know how upset I'll be.
I think we're good. I think this team is good.
Well, we're gonna find out. And we said it's not quite the dog days of summer, but this really is. It's the end of it, but this is the dog days of the NFL offseason right now, where there's just no news, and we're trying to do these shows, and we're finding stories. I think we're doing a good job of finding interesting stories that are coming along. So then when you get something like the Steelers-Dolphins trade that happened on Monday late morning, early afternoon. That's like, all right, we got to hop on this immediately. And it just so happens to be a trade between 2 teams from the Paul Farrington Showcast of the Steelers and producer Zack's Dolphins. So we'll jump right into that. Jalen Ramsey, the multiple-time first-team All-Pro cornerback, was traded to the Steelers along with Jonnu Smith and a 7th-round pick in 2027, not next year, 2027. In exchange, the Dolphins received Minkah Fitzpatrick, another multiple-time first-team All-Pro safety, and a 2027 5th-round pick. All right? So that's the trade you're looking at. It was kind of funny as it was coming in from Schefter, right? Originally, it looked like for a moment there that the Steelers just added Jalen Ramsey to the team while keeping Minkah and keeping Joey Porter Jr. And a lot of Steelers fans, for a brief moment before he put out the part 2 to the trade, was like, oh, geez, this secondary is absolutely loaded.
That's what I thought it was. I'm like, wait, I just thought that we got Jalen Ramsey.
It was pretty funny.
I didn't see that Minkah had departed.
I don't really remember many times as well where there's been a part 2 to it. Like that was a weird presentation of the trade where it did really tease Steelers fans for a moment.
Well, Minkah, it's funny. Didn't Minkah Fitzpatrick request, like he wanted out of Miami, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I cannot think of the last time a player demanded a trade request, got it, and then was traded back.
Sent back to the team
a couple years later.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. Okay, I didn't piece that together when you texted that to us way earlier in the day. Yeah, that's right. It's
Ziggy put it in our chat, and then I remembered. I'm like, oh yeah, he wanted out, and now he's back on his original team, which was funny.
Yeah, it was not like a happy departure either. Like it got really messy. Producer Zack will remember.
Well, what's really funny is producer Zack actually was digging around. He has a Minkah Fitzpatrick Dolphins jersey that immediately became obsolete once Minkah was traded to the Steelers, but now it's back. So producer Zack, a long-term investment for this Minkah Fitzpatrick jersey, but I guess it paid off. You can wear it again.
I can.
Are you happy about it, Zack?
No.
Zack's never been a Minkah guy.
Zack's just miserable.
Ever since he left, it was like how terrible the team was. Then he left and we got way better. Dude,
And now he's back and you suck again.
Now he's back. We suck again. And he doesn't tackle.
All right, we'll get to the Dolphins in a second.
What's that,
here.
Rob Schneider? Oh, no, we suck again. What is that from?
Oh, I have no idea. What was it? Performers or something like that?
It's a funny meme.
So let's start with the Steelers here. And I was just thinking through this. For a team that a lot of people have been saying over the past few years, oh, they're boring. They never do anything. They're 9-8, same season, blown out in the first round. And look, that could happen again with this Steelers team. Like that's still in play. But they are doing something very different in that they're being much more aggressive this offseason, right? One thing, and then also not at the expense of the future at the moment. They still have a ton of first round, a ton of picks for the 2026 draft. If any of you guys are Marvel fans listening right now, this was kind of a funny moment I had earlier today. Do you remember in Iron Man 2 when Tony Stark is dying and he needs to discover the new element and he's not able to do it? He can't figure out the answer until he finds some old videotapes of his father, and that leads him to the answer, and he saves his life, and he says, he's been dead for 20 years. He's still taking me to school. I kind of had a moment like that today because after the trade, all the analysts, all the experts, everyone's just putting out there, Steelers all in. Like they are all in on Aaron Rodgers. I even texted to Ziggy. I was like, yep, all in. And then I talked to my dad on the phone. He called and said, what do you think of the trade? And I said, they're all in. He went, I don't know about that, actually. I see it more as the competitive rebuild here, kind of the way the Vikings tried to do it when they brought in Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell. And, I was arguing with my dad back and forth for a second. And I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Like they do, your draft capital, you still have your first, second, 3 thirds, and 2 picks in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round next year.
You have
all of those. You still, like the quarterback situation is going to be fine. You'll be able to get a new guy next year, even if Rodgers retires. And all of a sudden I was like, son of a bitch. I have my own show now with these guys and still getting taken to school by my dad. So I completely agreed with them that, I think the Steelers got better on defense. I think they got better on offense, and the future was not really impacted by this deal. So upon reflection, I like it. I think it's a good move. And as you said, Jack, corner was a huge need. Now, safety becomes a little bit of an issue. There is a trade-off, but cornerback's more important than safety to me. So I thought it was a really good trade for a team that, whether you agree or not that it's time to be competitive right now, or it's time to invest in Rodgers the way they are, since they've made that decision, I think this was a good move.
This is what blue sky franchises do. We do things like this. I was a fan of this. I like this a lot because I do agree. I think the cornerback position is a more important position to be solid at than safety. And it has been a real issue in Pittsburgh recently at that position. And now, JPJ, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. If this was 6 years ago, it would be fantastic.
That's what Ziggy said.
But it's Jalen Ramsey is a 3-time Pro Bowler. I still think he has a decent amount left in his tank, where this is now a decent competitive cornerback room. And it hasn't really been like that in a while. I'm used to now watching this, like opposing QBs drop back to pass and knowing somebody will be open against these corners. Jalen Ramsey now is good enough where that's not the case anymore. And forget about just him. I think Jonnu Smith now becomes our best receiving option at tight end out of our 17 tight ends. Like
At tight end, right?
After
DK. And maybe it's second best on the team after DK.
Right. Yeah. Which I like him too. So to get Jalen Ramsey a huge need and a good corner, plus another good receiving weapon in Smith for pretty much just Minkah and a late pick, I liked it.
So that's 2 yeses so far.
Yeah,
Ziggy has kind of been bouncing back and forth with like whether he likes it or not. So where do you ultimately come down?
I'm not bouncing back and forth. I think in order to look at this trade, the first thing you sort of have to ask is, why are these teams doing it? Minkah Fitzpatrick is coming off his worst stretch as a pro by far, right? Like in 2022, he had 6 interceptions. The past 2 seasons combined, he had 1. And he's up for a contract extension this year. It's like, if you're the Dolphins, why are you trading Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey for this guy? The answer is because you don't want to pay Jalen Ramsey a league-leading or close to league-leading contract for 3 more years. And you don't want to hand Jonnu Smith an extension. So the Steelers are willing to place that bet, right? They're now committing. Like the holdup between Jalen Ramsey and the Rams was the Rams didn't want to pay the salary. The Steelers are paying basically the whole salary for Jalen Ramsey. Jonnu Smith, why is he out? Despite being the Dolphins' #1 option, he wanted an extension. So the Steelers hand him a big 1-year extension on top of this deal. So the thing that makes me nervous is we talk about a competitive rebuild. The Steelers have been competitively rebuilding since Aaron Rodgers left. And it's resulted in consistent mediocrity and committing a lot of money to big veterans. You still have to figure out what to do with TJ Watt, right? He's holding out. The rumor is teams are calling the Steelers trying to get him. I'm not sure with TJ Watt potentially on the way out or having to commit big money and no quarterback past this year. I'm not sure I want to commit a ton of money to Jalen Ramsey. He's good, but like Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay are coming off some of their worst seasons as pros, just like Minkah Fitzpatrick is. Counting on those guys to turn around because they've been all pros before, especially Ramsey coming off injury after injury. I don't know.
Well, that's what all this is, isn't it? It's all kind of roll dice.
Put them in Steeler jerseys, and
Jack's relying on the blue sky franchise.
And things will turn back around.
But what I'm saying here, Ziggy, is I feel like most of this season, though, is a roll of the dice for the Steelers. You're relying on. There are so many ifs, and that's why ultimately I don't think that the Steelers are going to be a Super Bowl team. I don't even know if they'll be a divisional round playoff team. But they are, like, it's all a roll of the dice. There's a lot of ifs around the team. But if Aaron Rodgers plays well and if Jalen Ramsey bounces back, Slay is, 34, 35 now. I think having him be your number 2 was already a little concerning. So Ramsey helps out there. But that's what this is. Like, this team's, they're going to have high expectations given the names. But I think in reality, this is a team that you're more hopeful than you are actually expecting if you're realistic.
I think we're amazing.
So if that's if I'm more hopeful than expecting, do I want to commit $25 million to Jalen Ramsey after this season?
Well, I mean, what's the worst thing that happens is, let's say Rodgers retires after this year. They go 9-8, 10-7. Now, if they go 10-7, maybe Rodgers comes back. But let's assume he stays true to his word and he doesn't. You're gonna have a rookie quarterback next year. So what if you're paying Jalen? It's gonna be a sort of a rebuild anyway there when you have the rookie coming in. And just in case, if he's still good, we've seen rookie quarterbacks come in now and have great seasons. So I understand that you don't want to pay a dude who's turning 31 a ton of money. But Jalen did have a decent year last year. I know he didn't have the interceptions that he normally has, and but ultimately, like, he still played football at a high level. He's still a good cornerback.
When I was in Pittsburgh this past weekend on Saturday night in the casino, I did well. I was playing roulette and I was killing it. I hit like 10 reds in a row. So then I took a lot of my winnings, made a Steelers Super Bowl wager at 30-1. So again, all house money, but I put down $200 to win $6,000. And I think that has teeth now.
That's always a dangerous mindset, but I mean, it's one that most people have, the house money mindset, where it's like, shift. That is just money in your pocket. But now in your mind, you're like, yeah, it's like house money.
Now it's got to be more.
Yeah, well, now, maybe you've
also I'm
30x. Go ahead, Ziggy.
I'm curious what you guys think. So the big question for the Steelers team after this is what to do with TJ Watt. And given these moves, I think it's tough to let him go. Would you be willing to commit like $120 million guaranteed dollars to TJ Watt, like Myles Garrett just got, and say, screw it, if we're bad the next year, who cares? Are you willing to trade him to try and make your competitive rebuild more competitive? Like, what the Vikings have done so well is trading guys when they can get stuff for them and keeping the guys that are going to increase in value. We've seen what guys like Max Crosby and Myles Garrett are able to extort from their teams. Like, what do you do about TJ Watt now?
Go ahead, Jack.
You pay him everything. I mean, you keep him. It's simple as that.
It's an understandable question.
If that's the plan, then I'm worried. Because I think you're going to get a bunch more years of winning 6, 7, 8 games, never be able to get your quarterback, and it's same old Steelers year in, year out.
So what happened? What I was with Watt gone?
I think the alternative thing they could have done is added Rodgers, either make Watt play this out or trade him, and then say, okay, look, we're moving on. This is our 1 year. We're not going to commit anything into the future. We'll look at quarterbacks in 2026 and 2027.
I mean, he's the reason we've been 9-8 all these years instead of 3-15.
Well, no, that's exactly what Ziggy's saying. Ziggy's saying that you have this 1 year with Rodgers right now, and then if you have Watt going forward, he's going to help that team. Like, he ultimately for the Steelers has such a huge impact. He's going to help them win games where if you finish the year with Rodgers, you move on from everyone and you start fresh. That's what he's saying.
I mean, I see that. I'm not.
I feel like once you made the decision, the decisions that they're making right now are that, while again, they're not all in, but they're making a push this year, or at least they're trying this year. And I just think with the way they've acted, not extending TJ Watt wouldn't align with the decision making that's been happening.
I mean, Rodgers being half decent, this team can go far.
Yeah, that's true, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's not, I mean, it's not like.
But I was with you, Ziggy, in the beginning. I think they should have. I still hold the opinion that while they do have a solid team, I think that the right move for the Steelers would have been starting fresh.
But what can you really? Where are you going to get out of TJ Watt? Like, what can you trade Watt for? Like, why not?
I think even though he's got a contract extension coming up, you could get at least a day 2 pick for TJ Watt, maybe more.
Yeah, but why not just keep a stud?
Because you want to have a good team in the future. That's why.
It's dangerous for Pittsburgh if they start having. Again, I don't think it's too dangerous though, because they're going to go up for a quarterback next season, right? If Rodgers doesn't come back, like they have the ammunition. I just read all the picks they have.
They can get QB5 or QB6 in the draft next year.
I think they could trade up even higher than that. Like if they come in 18, like if they're picking 18 to 22,
we'll pick 32.
30. Well, then it's worth it. But they have 3 third-round picks, a second, and the 2 picks in 4, 5, and 6 and 7.
So you just
but when teams want to take quarterbacks, you can't trade down with them. And there's going to be if teams early in the draft want to take quarterbacks. And we've seen this over and over again, right? In the draft of good quarterbacks, usually the first 3 or 4 are just spoken for.
And a lot of times top 5.
You can start moving.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, you're probably going for the 4th, 5th, or 6th best, probably the 4th or 5th quarterback. Who even knows if they'll be a first rounder?
So, like, we're here talking about no more TJ Watt and drafting a QB and not even having given Will Howard a chance. But what if Will Howard's decent?
Will Howard is a 6th round pick. It's extremely unlikely he's any good.
He could be. Yeah,
but
he could be.
But you can also say trading TJ Watt for, I guess a day 2 pick. A day 2 pick's a mystery.
Again, given where the Steelers are, I think that you extend TJ Watt right now because they're going to be picking in that probably 18 to 22 range or 17 to 23 range. And then it is hard to make that move up all the way for one of those top guys. So they're probably still going, no matter what, even if the Steelers got rid of Watt before the year, right? The Steelers are still probably going to be picking at the lower end of the top 10 or early teens, even if they got rid of everybody, right? If they blew it up like that, they operate pretty highly. Like they're consistently winning games. So I just think with the roster they have right now, they're clearly making a push. Just go in on Watt. And look, if it backfires, it totally backfires. But ultimately, they're in the business of trying to win Super Bowls. They think this is the best decision. And bringing in TJ Watt will help their team this season.
Yeah, I think you extend.
But I totally see where you're coming from, Ziggy. They're in a tricky position where they're competitive right now, but can very quickly become a bottom feeder.
You know what this trade honestly reminds me of? This reminds me of a trade the Chicago Bulls would do during the offseason. You trade a player for a player, basically no picks, make your mediocre borderline play-in team, maybe a slightly better, maybe a slightly worse borderline mediocre play-in team. And you'll finish ninth in the NBA, and the play-in's equivalent to 7th in the NFL and getting bounced in the first round. It's impossible for me to escape the Chicago Bulls comparisons. But maybe this is like the 1990s Chicago Bulls. You're about to go on a run.
Either way,
it'll be the Chicago Bulls.
This would be a dominant team 3 years ago.
I was talking to a fellow Steeler fan this weekend out in Pittsburgh, and I was asking guys there. I was telling them about our show, and I was talking about Aaron Rodgers. Their feelings, what they think, blah blah blah. Again, everybody's like me. And it's funny, this one dude, I forget his name. He was like, this definitely won't be a 9-8 team. We'll probably be 10-7 and get killed in the first round.
Well, does this team make you feel
funny?
With all these moves, do you feel that the Steelers, as far as the AFC North goes, you think they think they can win the division?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think the Jalen Ramsey move impacts my decision making too much on the Steelers.
They finished ahead of Cincinnati last year.
They did, and
now they've gotten better.
Yeah, they did. They did finish higher than Cincinnati. I think the defense for Cincy will be. They has to.
We've beaten Baltimore 7 out of the last 10 times.
Yeah, you play those teams very well.
Of course, they're going to win the division. Cleveland stinks.
Did the trade today, Ziggy, make you think the Steelers are in
Jalen
better shape to win the North?
Is a more valuable need than Minkah Fitzpatrick is for the Steelers defense.
I think that's true. I think there's also a reason why their Super Bowl odds, win total, and division odds aren't budging. These are the kinds of moves that feel really significant in the offseason because we're starved for attention. But at the end of the day, adding a tight end and a 31-year-old corner, even like a decent one, there's a reason these players are moving for basically nothing. It's because the Dolphins don't think they'll help them win, which means they probably won't help the Steelers win much either.
I also thought Minkah Fitzpatrick was getting a little underrated today. I know that Steelers fans have been...
he's a bad player,
man. What, really?
Oh, he's terrible.
Yeah,
no, he's not a bad player. He is a league average safety. This is shocking, but the past 2 years have been so bad. He's had 1 interception and 5 pass breakups over the past 2 seasons.
I don't think it's been quite as bad as what people are saying today. There's a lot of times when you've been watching the Steelers where they were picking on other players in those secondaries. Steelers didn't allow a lot of big plays. That's oftentimes because Minkah would be back there, and if you throw it up, that's when his interceptions go up, and teams have been doing that less. I know that he hasn't been the player that was a first-team All-Pro, but Minkah Fitzpatrick, like today, you're hearing a lot of, he's washed. I don't think he's washed.
I mean, I thought, like I said, that we had somehow got Ramsey and kept Minkah first. I was a little bit upset to lose. Like,
great team leader.
Like, I liked Minkah.
Huge leader.
I liked Minkah a lot, but I would much rather have Ramsey on our defense than Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Safety is an easier position to find someone to plug and play than it is cornerback, and it's what you.
Do you know what completion percentage Minkah Fitzpatrick gave up last year?
What was it?
Take a reasonable.
But I think that's also part of our corners sucking.
Yeah, so that's sure, but it's not like your corners were all world in 2022.
Well, no, when our corners just get beat, and then a lot of it might look like it's Minkah, but it's not.
It's the closest defender. He's giving up an 80% completion.
Was it 80? I was going to say 75.
The passer rating he gave up was 130. It's almost perfect. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick in coverage last year was one of the worst coverage safeties in the NFL. It's just true.
That's what it was. But nobody ever, the Dolphins did not draft him to be a coverage corner.
No, he's a great run defender. But like a run defending safety is not a guy. Like there was a time in 2022 when he was a run defender who maybe wasn't the best coverage guy in the world, but had great instincts and made big plays. Those days are done. I'm sorry to say. He's a league average safety at best.
Does it matter if you can cover people as a safety? Is that like the main...
If you're giving up one of the best passer ratings at the position in the NFL, that's tough. You should be forcing pass breakups and interceptions.
But I think it's harder to be a good safety when your cornerbacks suck.
Well, it puts more pressure on you. Yeah, like there was a time in the Steelers secondary where it all felt like it was on Minkah over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, that's because our corner's getting torched and he has to help out 7 different people. I didn't think he was that bad.
I do think, though, like you were saying off the top, Jack.
You know what Paulapalooza was so good?
Oh, okay. Well, hold on a second. Yeah.
We like Taylor and Deshae Townsend locking up the receivers.
When you have bad cornerbacks, when you have bad cornerbacks, it becomes a tough watch for your team. And that's where
it's horrendous.
Getting Jalen, there was a chance this year that even though you do have Joey Porter Jr., again, Slay's pretty old. So there was a chance there that you were going to have a rough cornerback room, and this helps it a lot. This slides everything into more of a natural fit here.
Now there's 2 solid cornerbacks playing cornerback.
Yeah, you have a great duo.
Yeah,
and the Steelers' defense is really good. I mean, they have an electric unit on the defensive side of the ball. My fear just comes down to what's going on offense, and I like DK's fine. DK had 3 games in the first 3 of his first 4 games.
We just got Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, 3 of his first 4 games last year, DK went for over 100 yards. You know how many he had the rest of the season?
Well, who's the QB? Geno Smith. Geno Smith stinks. Rodgers better than Smith.
0. So I like DK. I don't think he's close to the tier of Jefferson and Chase and those top receivers in the league. So Jonnu Smith helps out there. He is an important piece. Jonnu's coming off his best year, but he's kind of a one-hit wonder, and he's going to be 30. So I just don't think I believe in the offense for Pittsburgh. And if Rodgers finds the fountain of youth, then he will elevate everything. But I've said this so many times. I think that Rodgers needed to be in a place where the team would help elevate him more, as opposed to him having to elevate the offense. And
I think we just need to come out and say it. Rodgers is awful.
I don't think Rodgers is awful.
He's so out of his prime. He's awful.
This is why we don't get Producer Zack.
No. He is awful. I'll put a bet on it this year that he's just
Aaron
absolutely
Rodgers.
awful.
Look, I
was
thought
good
I was
last
the
year.
biggest Aaron Rodgers hater on the show. He had a good second half.
He was
of
good
year.
last year. Rodgers was a good quarterback
and
last
he's
year.
going to be awful again. Here we go. I'll bet on it. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'll bet Aaron Rodgers has a terrible year.
What counts as terrible, or is it we're just being subjective, or like we're doing an honor system on this?
Like
Well, I mean, you can tell if he is like Producer Zack. Was his year last year terrible?
I think he didn't have a good year last year.
So 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions is a terrible year. That's the position.
I don't know. It wasn't a terrible year, but I think it was like the Jets were fine.
I mean, like
They were not a good team last year.
there's a difference in being past your prime versus being terrible. He's past his prime.
Terrible this year.
That's fair. I can see a world where the Steelers have a very bad offense.
If
I don't think
Rodgers
that's a crazy.
if Rodgers is terrible, you'll be terrible.
Like I honestly think your offensive line is it might kill Aaron Rodgers this year.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah,
Well,
then-
you got the Georgia guy come back, right?
Don't we
Broderick Jones.
bring in Will Howard and he slices up defenses.
Jack's a big Will Howard believer. Yeah, so we'll have to see. You know, the Steelers are doing things differently this year, and the Jalen Ramsey acquisition is a fun one. Like Ziggy said, maybe it won't wind up mattering at the end of the day. I think it will. I think it's a big.
You know what I can't wait for? We're playing Seattle. After Rodgers lights out the Jets, then we're playing Seattle at home.
Was that week 2?
Yeah, and home opener, and I'll be in attendance. And the starting offense gets announced, and the final announcement is, and at quarterback from Ohio State, Will Howard, and the player just goes crazy, and he carves up Seattle.
So there you have it with the Steelers trade. I think we all like it, generally speaking. And Ziggy, who thinks Minkah Fitzpatrick is horrible.
Like I say, I think we all like it, generally speaking, when a third of the show thinks it's bad.
I thought that you were somewhat you just said Minkah is horrible.
Yeah. The fact that you're getting players back from Minkah Fitzpatrick tells you the Dolphins think those guys are horrible too.
Okay, 2/3 of the show likes the trade for the Steelers, and a third of the show thinks that it's just a horrible deal all around. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I like it for the Dolphins. You're moving off long-term bad money for short-term bad money. Go ahead.
Okay, the Dolphins win the trade, according to Ziggy.
I think Steelers win the trade.
So we're going to do a quick little around the NFC North segment right here. We're going to hit on a couple questions. The first one was, I've been seeing this question go around about the Vikings lately, and it's one that I've enjoyed looking into more and more because we've talked about the greatness of Justin Jefferson on this show quite a bit more recently. And when you jump into the numbers, it really is pretty astounding just how good this dude has been through the start of his career. Leads the league all time with 96.5 yards per game. Second is Jamar Chase at 87.5, just for some comparison there. So he's almost 10 yards more than anyone else.
Here's another way you can put it. If Justin Jefferson has 95 yards a game every single game next year, that's what? 1,600 yards. His average will go down.
Yeah, that's insane. That's crazy.
1,600 yard season for Justin Jefferson is below average.
So I've seen people starting to say, is this dude, if he has a 1,600 yard season, is it possible that he could be the best receiver in Vikings history by the end of next year? And initially,
they had Randy Moss, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, initially, whenever anyone hears that, you go, oh, wait, what about Randy Moss? And actually, Cris Carter, too. I mean, Cris Carter is the leader in all these categories. Most receiving yards is Cris Carter. Most touchdowns is Cris Carter. Now, granted, he played in 75 more games than Randy Moss and 111 more games than Justin Jefferson. But this is where you get into the whole debates on greatness of peaks versus careers.
Cris Carter was also just a very good player.
Cris Carter is an exceptionally underrated all-time receiver. I do you agree with that?
Was Cris Carter on the team that went to a Super Bowl?
I don't know. We never went. We haven't been to the Super Bowl in 40 years.
Huh. Oh wow.
He was on the 98 NFC Championship.
Oh, okay.
He was on. Yeah,
but a team that was very, very good.
Oh yeah. He was on all those.
The Atlanta.
He was on the Atlanta game. The Giants. They went to the NFC Championship game against the Giants in 2000 and lost 40-0. It was horrible. But yeah, no, I mean, Cris Carter just we don't need to get into this right here. But anyway, when you compare Randy Moss and Justin Jefferson, I think it's kind of fun because when you do start breaking down the numbers, Justin Jefferson's on track to eventually take over most of the records that these. And now to catch Carter, he needs another like 5,000 yards receiving, which is a lot, but that could be 3-4 years, assuming he stays healthy and everything. So I think right now I come down, guys, where it's still too early to say. Like, you can't say he's the best receiver in Vikings history. Yeah, you probably can't even put him ahead of Cris Carter yet. He's probably 3. But I will say, as far as peak goes, I would have to put Moss at number 1, given the explosiveness and the impact he had on a game. But Jefferson's pretty close. Like, he's closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah, there's also a huge difference in being at number 1 versus being on track to be number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to put him. You can put him over Randy Moss right now.
Some people are saying yes, and that's where I've been saying, all right, like let's slow down a little bit. He might get there. Like, he legitimately has a chance, but to say he's better than Moss and Carter just now, I don't think I can get.
I mean, I think Antonio Brown's on track to be one of the best receivers in the history of the NFL.
Well, he is one of the best in the history of the NFL.
I don't know if I'd put him where I was gonna put him if he stayed in the league.
Oh yeah, well, and this is where we come down on the like peaks versus longevity question.
I mean, like, he could have gone out as number 1.
He's not what's insane is I don't know if anyone will actually ever break the Jerry Rice record, because here's your top 5 receiving yards leaders of all time: Isaac Bruce 15,200, Randy 15,300, Owens 15,900, Fitzgerald 17,500, Jerry Rice 22,900.
If AB never went nuts and finished his career with the Steelers, there'd be talks about him versus Jerry Rice.
No, there wouldn't be.
I think there would be.
You do not understand Jerry Rice's numbers.
I do. And AB was on pace to be almost just as good.
But see, there have been so many receivers that have been on pace to be almost just as good.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And then you realize they need to keep up that pace for another 10 years. Like, Justin Jefferson does not have a third of Jerry Rice's receiving yards.
But comparing Jefferson to Rice, he doesn't. But Jefferson have
to be on pace. Justin Jefferson would have to do this for 15 more years.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not out here arguing Jefferson versus Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jack's saying Antonio Brown he'd be up there with Jerry Rice.
He would have.
Jerry Rice had 200 career touchdowns.
Yeah, Antonio Brown was over 10,000 yards behind Jerry Rice when he retired.
Well, he retired too early.
He was 31 when he had his first year.
Antonio Brown would have needed 110 touchdowns to have more than Jerry Rice. 110 more on top of what he already had.
Yeah, but Rice just ran slants with the middle. Brown was more flashy, and
you have no idea.
Brown was a better.
You have no idea.
Brown was a better wide receiver. Rice just ran slants, and then
you need to throw on 1995 Jerry Rice. Like, actually watch what this guy could do.
I'd have.
You have no clue.
Rice is probably faster, but he just ran slants.
It's crazy how we were supposed to talk about the NFC North.
I don't think Jerry Rice was faster than Antonio Brown.
No, Jerry Rice was the guy who could run crazy routes.
Yeah, it was the routes.
Agility.
No, he just ran slants over the middle.
All right, we're not getting into another one of these. The thing about Jefferson is that no. The thing about Jefferson
current JJ is not the best Viking receiver of all time.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a huge difference being on pace versus being the best.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But to acknowledge one other thing though, through what is this, 5 or 6 years?
Is that 3 seasons of being very good?
No, he's been
Justin Jefferson.
No.
Yeah,
it's really.
I was gonna say, is it 5 or 6? No, are you kidding me? He came into the league and
I'm excluding that injury.
He's at 1,400, 1,600, 1,800, 1,100 when he only played 10 games, and then 1,500.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the best start in the history of football.
That was a bad year for him.
It's the best start in the history of football for a receiver.
Antonio Brown was better.
Not through 5 seasons.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, no, he's like objectively no. But the answer to the Moss question is no. Okay, another interesting topic in the North was as Matthew Golden has kind of broken out. You know, we talked about the red flags for the NFC North teams last week, and the one for the Packers that we objected to the red flag, that depth and durability was their red flag. I thought that was ridiculous. And I actually saw other articles being written this week that were like, yep, that's the right red flags. Are you kidding me? The issue that we came down on was relying on so many guys to elevate their game, especially when those guys were guys who didn't do it last season, that could be a problem if they don't step up, especially, again, since they didn't do it last year. And while that's true for edge rusher, that there's no new guys coming in, and true for cornerback, it can't really be said for receiver because they did make the splash move by drafting Golden, number 23 overall. They also brought in Savion Williams, a third-round pick. So I've been seeing some people now say, okay, if Matthew Golden lives up to the hype, and so far through OTAs, again, through OTAs, so you never know this time of year. This is what everyone looks great in shorts. But he's looked really good, apparently.
You're right about that.
And people are starting to say, is there a chance here? This is still a crowded receiver room, even with Christian Watson down. Is there a chance that maybe Watson gets dealt? Maybe Romeo Doubs, who had trade rumors circulating around him last season, could he get dealt during the season or even before the season? I've seen some people say, could Romeo Doubs go to the Steelers? Could he like that? Now I think that would be a great move for Pittsburgh to bring him in. Now talk about troublesome wide receivers. Now you bring in Romeo Doubs. I don't know how that locker room's going to be, but he played a year with Aaron Rodgers. Could we potentially see a Packer receiver on the move? So Ziggy, as our borderline Packers fan, I'm just kidding. Relax. As our Packer correspondent, you could say, would you suggest a potential move here for Green Bay, getting rid of one of their receivers?
Green Bay has to get rid of one of their receivers. Probably
I did
two
not
of their receivers.
see that coming.
Well, no, that's just
You
true
have
based
to.
on the
It's pretty,
numbers. Like you're not going into the season with 14 receivers.
Well, yeah. I mean, they have to get rid of Bo Melton or
let me
McCole
say my
Hardman.
thing. Let me say
Okay,
my
okay,
thing.
okay.
So first of all, you can't move Christian Watson. He's not going to be healthy by the trade deadline. He has an expiring contract. No one's adding him. The question you're faced with in Green Bay is, do we want to let Bo Melton is a guy he's a guy you can play. McCole Hardman is a guy you can play. Malik Heath, these are guys you can play. They're not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible players. You've got Savion Williams and Matthew Golden trying to come in. You can either cut them or you can look at moving a guy like Romeo Doubs, who could be on the way out and who you can actually get some value for. Like you said, right, there are teams like Pittsburgh that could be looking for a guy like Romeo Doubs, who I think could be a very effective number 2 wide receiver. He's on a cheap contract. You'd still have him under team control. The Packers wouldn't have to deal with him in that salary cap crunch they have coming up next year. If he doesn't get a new deal next year, he's going to be holding out. That's just how the NFL works. Mm-hmm. I think there's a real argument, if you like what you're seeing from Golden and Williams, to saying, look, they need to be on the field to get better. Right? We can't just have these guys riding the bench while we roll out Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs again. Moving off one of those guys so you can get Golden and Williams on the field at the same time. Make Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks your other 2 receivers that you put out on the field. Reed probably is the wide receiver 1 job at the start of the season, but you get the point. Mm-hmm. I think that could make a lot of sense for this team because I don't know. While Romeo Doubs, I think, is a decent player, I don't know how he fits into the long-term vision of this team. You need your rookies to play and get better.
So when I'm making the thumbnail and the title of this breakout clip, I can say Packers should trade Romeo Doubs.
I think there's a good argument for trading Romeo Doubs. Now, that depends on them liking the development from Golden and Williams. But at a certain point, I'm very happy if Romeo Doubs, his up and down play, his mercurial contract situation becomes some other team's problem and we get a early day 3 pick for him.
What about this? What if Matthew Golden has a very, very good season, a great season? What if you trade him for the number 1 or 2 pick? Take Arch Manning.
Oh yeah, Golden's going to be worth the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
What if he just pops off?
What's that Justin Jefferson start?
1,800 yards. Then you trade him for the number 1 pick.
Antonio Brown start, you might say.
Yes.
What would Matthew Golden? No one would know. The team would not trade the number 1 overall pick for him. Then
they
even
wouldn't?
if he had 1,800 yards. No, to get the number 1 quarterback. No shot.
Then my theory goes to waste. Then.
I mean, you could probably get a lot. That would be a first round pick for sure. I don't think that they could trade up. And when you don't want Archman, you have Jordan Love. Congrats on getting married, by the way, Jordan Love. Yeah, maybe a round of applause for Jordan Love.
Yeah,
but married. Congratulations, Jordan.
But I'm saying if Love,
he was supposed to be mine. I had a scheme to get married to him. We could go on Family Feud and promote the show. Me and Jordan.
If Love continues,
I'd adopt you and Jack Paul, so that way we could like form a Paul Farrington Show Family Feud team. Producer Zack, you'd get cut for Jordan Love. I'm sure you'd understand.
Oh, no, you got 5. You get 5. It'd be us and Jordan.
Oh, then Producer Zack will adopt him too.
Did you guys know before we dive too far into this, but in college, they had Family Feud tryouts in Chicago, and me, Ziggy, and 3 of our other friends actively looked into seeing if Ziggy could legally adopt us because you had to be related to go and try out. And we all called our parents. We're like, hey, this is process and it would involve Ziggy adopting us. And every single one of our parents went, absolutely not. Goodbye.
What about this? Do you think Jordan Love could be worth the number 1 overall pick?
Yes.
Probably not.
I think he could be.
What if you trade Love for Arch Manning? Then you reunite Manning and Matthew Golden.
So these are situations in fantasy land, but the Packers are facing an actual situation with their wide receivers.
Would they rather have Love or Arch?
I think Love.
I think
they'd rather have Love.
I think some might disagree.
Some might. No, there are definitely some who might. That's a much more interesting question. If
Arch to Golden.
Let's say the Browns have the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but that's the problem is if it would either be a resounding yes or no. Because I think Love will, if Love has an okay year, the answer is no. But if Love bounces back, the answer is
Arch to Golden could be electric. Electric.
He really didn't have that. Didn't Ewers?
Yeah, he's a
man's probably not even the draft.
But he's a Manning.
So I'm not sure this is the topic of conversation.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ziggy. You were saying.
I get a little sidetracked sometimes.
All I was gonna say was if you're the Packers, I think there's an argument for moving off a guy like Romeo Doubs, who's going to be expensive, who's up for a new contract soon, and letting your rookies do some work and leave your guys like Bo Melton and Malik Heath there as backups.
Would you trade him before the season? If the Steelers called right now and offered a 4th round pick, because I said they have that absurd amount of draft picks next year. If they offered a 4th for Romeo Doubs,
I'm not in the building. If I like what I've seen from Golden and Williams up until this point, I'm probably willing to execute that trade.
Well, I mean, I feel like a receiver is probably the least of the Packers' needs, right? Like if you can snag a 3rd or 4th round pick for one of them, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, the thought that
I think Romeo Doubs can take that step forward that you need.
Yeah, the thought process I have is that last year we saw some problems with the depth, and durability of the Packers team at wide receiver. So my concern would be with Watson already out. I know you have Golden, and I know you currently have Wicks, Reed, and Doubs. Those are your 4, and you have a few guys behind. Saban Williams he's still a 3rd round pick. We have to remember that. If one of those guys goes down, then Doubs is it's nice having that extra security blanket. Like Doubs, you have 4 receivers right now who you hypothetically should trust next year, and I think you
like Romeo Doubs is a free agent next year. This offseason is your last chance to get value for him.
Well, would you rather? Is he more important to the success of this season, or would you rather roll the dice on a 4th round pick? That's kind of I think I'd rather keep Doubs.
I do not believe that Romeo Doubs is going to take the step forward everybody's hoping for.
Even if he doesn't, he could still play a pretty important role, especially if someone else were to get hurt. Just having that
I'm taking an early day 3 pick over a 600-yard wide receiver who drops the ball at one of the highest rates in the league.
You can't ever have too many receivers, though.
I can see you could make an argument for both sides. So let us know in the comments.
It's a good position to have a surplus. Like if Doubs are number 3.
If Golden really does, this is why it's a harder discussion to have right now before we've really seen anything. If we're talking about October and Matthew Golden's off to a really hot start and Wicks and Reed are playing well, now you're gonna and Watson's set to come back a little later in the year. It makes a little more sense then. I think it's a tougher conversation to have now. But as Ziggy pointed out, and as we've argued, there are ups and downs. So let us know what you think in the comments.
I think you trade Love number 1 overall pick.
You get Arch. So as the Lions side, Brian Branch, who I think we called on this show, and he was drafted. We immediately were like, that's an unbelievable pick from the Lions. That draft class, by the way, Branch, Jameer, right? Campbell it was the linebacker, right? They drafted Campbell in that draft class.
Yeah, and Sam Laporta. Jack Campbell should not be grouped in with those guys, by the way.
Well, most people think Laporta's really emerging.
No. Jack Campbell shouldn't be grouped in with the other 3.
Oh, as in he should be higher?
No, it's Jack Campbell was far and away the least good pick out of Laporta, Gibbs, and Branch.
I thought hasn't he taken a huge step forward?
Campbell's chunky soup.
The other three guys are all pros. Jack Campbell is taking a big step forward to a slightly above average line.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think Laporta regressed significantly last season. The other Gibbs and Branch, as much of a home run as you could possibly get. Anyway, though, so Brian Branch came out and said, once you have a group that has bought in and gone through trials and tribulations, we feel invincible. I feel like we're better than last year. We're hungry, and I feel that's going to separate us. Our chemistry is on a whole nother level. So after a 15-2 year, Brian Branch is coming out saying the Detroit Lions have got even better. And of course, that has to do with the injuries. I just wrote them down here, guys. On the defensive side of the ball, we had the fractured fibula and tibia for Aiden Hutchinson, which was just disgusting to watch in week 6. Davenport was out for the season. Derek Barnes out for the season. Alex Anzalone broke his arm. Malcolm Rodriguez tore his ACL. So did Aleem McNeil. Carlton Davis broke his jaw. So when you run through the injuries that the Lions had, it really was borderline miraculous that they ended 15-2 and beat the... I don't know how the hell they beat the Vikings in that week 18. Like, that's just such a Viking thing to have happen because everyone was running through their defense and the offense was performing at such an elite level.
They got up.
That they were able to sustain. Yeah, no, they got up. That's exactly what happened. Dan Campbell had them ready to run through a wall. And to be fair, Darnold was just terrible. Like, Sam was horrible.
Well, he is terrible.
Oh,
like those first 13 weeks were just a huge anomaly.
Yeah, the first 17 weeks of the season.
I don't know where that came from.
But week 18, Sam was truly just putrid. So when we look at the Lions, Ziggy, we'll go to you first on this one. They had, some pretty big losses this year, especially on offense with Zeitler, Ragnow, Ben Johnson, of course. But they're getting all these defensive guys back. Where do you think the Lions are? They actually a better team this year?
Well, don't forget, too, they also added some players, right? They've got Tyleik Williams coming in on the defensive line. They've got Tate Ratledge. They've got DJ Reed. So it's not as if the Lions just stayed neutral at players either. Obviously, they're getting all those guys back from injury. But for the guys that left, they've got at least some replacements coming in. I do not think if by better, they mean we're going to win more than 15 regular season games. No, the Lions are not going 16-1 or 17-0 next year. That's on a game-by-game basis. The Lions got very lucky to win some of the games they won last year. But if you're asking, is this team going to be better? Many of the star players that you listed are relatively young. Jahmyr Gibbs, relatively young. Brian Branch, Aiden Hutchinson, even like Amon-Ra. It's not like he's been in the league forever. These are guys who are entering their prime. Jared Goff is not yet old. I think that the Lions, even though they're not going to win as many regular season games, I think their roster is better. And I'm going to take the team with a better roster and say I think they'll be better next year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at by like literal definition of being better, then I'd say no.
You'd say he's insane.
Yeah, I'd say winning 16, expecting to win.
I don't think that's what he's saying, though.
But no, I agree. But like this year, when Detroit goes into the playoffs, assuming that everybody is there on the field, yes, there's
half of them are there on the field. They'll be better off.
Like there is a much better chance, and I am much more confident that they go further this year than they did last year.
Let me ask you, because I agree. And
it's hard to say no.
Yeah, we've said this a billion times on the show too. Just because you're a better team doesn't necessarily mean you'll have a better record. Same thing. You could be a worse team and have a better record. Like that can happen given the schedule and the way things play out. Do you guys think if Detroit, let's say with the tough schedule, they lose the division, okay? They're the number one wild card team. They're the 5 seed. So they're going on the road probably to like a Tampa, right? And probably going to Tampa. If they're completely healthy, do you think that Lions team would have a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl than the Lions? I know they lost, but it's just try and play this game with me. Than the team that they had with the 1 seed and home field advantage, but the defense was decimated.
I mean, I always want to play at home. They lost to Washington. If they won that, or if they won that, they're hosting Philly.
And I think Philly probably beats them.
I mean, I do think that home field means a lot, but these Detroit Lions fully healthy and
scary team
and geared up, there's a better chance they can go on the road and win than they would have beaten Philly at home last year.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Philly lights up that defense.
I know it's a weird question because they lost to the Commanders, so it's like you know what happened. I mean,
but like, then again, though, I don't know if they go on the road and beat Philly.
Right.
So, but I would much rather have Yeah,
I don't think last year's team was really capable of winning the Super Bowl by the time they got to the playoffs.
Yes,
I know they beat the Vikings, but they were giving up against teams with a quarterback who wasn't freaking out like Sam. They're giving up like 40 points
Washington
a game.
Scored 50 on him in the playoffs.
And remember the Bills? Didn't the Bills put up like 40
Bills
something?
destroyed them in Detroit, yeah.
What were you saying, Ziggy?
I was going to say, I don't think they're more likely to win a Super Bowl because, I like having a bye.
Yeah,
having
that's
a
huge.
bye and home field advantage is pretty good. But I think that they'll go. They're much more likely to win a playoff game, I think. Right? Like going on the road to Tampa or to LA or wherever. I like them better there than home versus the Eagles.
Or
even
they
got a better chance of winning multiple playoff games.
I mean, they could still. I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed this year. I just think there's a little too much. That schedule really is brutal. But they could very easily win the North again. And if they're the 2 or 3 seed, I know it's weird to say, but yeah, if they're healthy, they should be a much better team. Like they really should be way better. The offense is taking a step back. I just don't see the offense playing at the same level as consistently. You're losing Ben Johnson. You had the guys leave on the offensive line. Still, I think the foundation is still there, and I think that they got new guys coming in, new play callers. They'll still be awesome. But last year was a historically good offense. That'll take a step back. The defense should take an even bigger step forward, and that's where you see the team getting better. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one. That Brian Branch, as long as he's not talking about the record,
I wouldn't think that he is.
I'll give you this much: if you want a reason to believe the offense could be better when it counts, the one thing that Ben Johnson, everybody talked about how great he is, and he was a very good offensive coordinator. The one way that he really let this team down last year, and you can look at that Commanders game, any Lions fans will tell you, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs averaging like 13 yards a carry, and you stop running the ball.
Jahmyr Gibbs not getting the ball on every play.
Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a monster season next year. He was great with Ben Johnson, but I think the Ben Johnson play calling held him back just a little bit. Relying a little bit more on Jahmyr Gibbs in that run.
You know what I'm a little annoyed
would
about?
actually make for a better offense.
Is he the top fantasy pick this year, Jahmyr Gibbs? Who's the number 1 overall pick?
It'll be Saquon.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking him number 1.
You know what's annoying? You know what's annoying me?
Gibbs
I was the Jahmyr Gibbs guy on this show. I was the Jahmyr Gibbs guy, and now Ziggy is coming for that mantle.
I don't remember you saying a word about Jahmyr Gibbs.
Stop it. We were on the show last offseason.
I remember you saying, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is okay, but I don't really like
I remember Jack saying verbatim, please plug your ears if you have children. Jack's like, take his wood out of your mouth. And I was like, come on, guys. Let's relax.
Didn't you say he could be good?
No, I was a big Jahmyr Gibbs guy. I said, this guy's unbelievable.
You said, I think he'll be all right.
I think I was comparing him to Saquon. I was saying this dude's unbelievable. People don't realize. And you guys actually went, okay, Paul, come on, get off your knees, bro. And Producer Zack was trying to get everyone in order.
That didn't happen.
I can't believe that I'm no longer the Jahmyr Gibbs guy. Ziggy's out here saying he's going to win MVP.
Ziggy's a Jahmyr Gibbs guy.
He is.
Did you draft him this
so
year
am
in
I.
fantasy?
Did I have Jahmyr?
Yeah, this year in fantasy.
Doesn't
matter. Anyway. But yeah.
No, I had
fraud.
Yeah. Wait. Who did I have? I had him in Montgomery, and maybe it was 2 years ago. But I had him his rookie year.
So you hedged with David Montgomery? Yeah,
it was a great decision.
A Jahmyr Gibbs guy wouldn't take Montgomery.
A Jahmyr Gibbs guy would. They both had 20 points a game. So that.
Let us know if you're a Lions fan. If you're a Jahmyr Gibbs guy, do you take David Montgomery in fantasy?
How many
They'd all say no.
did David Montgomery? I believe I had them 2 years ago. I had him his rookie year.
It's not about whether it's a good strategic decision. If you believe in Jahmyr Gibbs, you say that's my guy. Right?
No, you definitely had him this year because this year was the year I bet. I think every week I bet a what do you call it? Jahmyr Gibbs
and Montgomery
touchdown parlayed.
Yeah, Montgomery is going for 13 and 12 touchdowns the last 2 years. You want that on your fantasy team. I love David Montgomery is such a great. Like 7th round running back or 6th round running back.
So you're a Lions running back room guy. You're not a Jahmyr Gibbs guy.
I'm more Jahmyr. Yeah, I'm a huge Lions running back room guy, but that involves Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's different than being a Jahmyr Gibbs.
If you feed Jahmyr Gibbs more, can you really tell me there's not a chance this offense is better than last year, or at least more consistent?
I think he gets hurt.
I just would.
I'm serious. Like, think about how. Like,
how can you come out here and just predict an injury?
No. I'm saying last year.
Crazy workload.
He's talking if you give Jahmyr Gibbs 350 carries, like I want the Lions to.
He's gonna give him 350.
That's an increased workload. There's injury.
I want my best player. If I could pass the ball 350 times to Justin Jefferson, I'd do it.
But
you can.
But I feel like that's what made Gibbs so good last year is that like
He's fresh.
they didn't have to play him, right? Like you just throw fresh legs out there halfway through the game.
You don't understand, Jameer.
Do you remember?
You're going to find out.
Do you remember the?
I hope I do. I hope you're right, Ziggy. I hope he gets 350 carries and has 90 touchdowns this year.
I mean, you're acting like a guy who had 300 touches last year was like a change of pace back.
He's talking, I think Zach is talking primarily about actual rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Which he had 185.
Do you remember?
Oh, no, sorry. That was Montgomery had 185. Gibbs had what?
Yeah, 250 plus another
250.
50 receptions. This guy can take.
Oh, he's a beast.
Remember back when we had AB, how we'd throw the ball 60 times a game?
Yeah.
Like we'd be 48 for 60 with 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 picks.
You had Le'Veon Bell, though, right?
We did, but we still threw 50 times a game.
That offense was unstoppable.
Either screens to Bell or shots to AB down the field.
Yeah. Well, long story short, this show likes Jahmyr Gibbs in the Lions running back room. No, you had Montgomery last year. You stole him from me.
I did have Montgomery.
I was furious. Yeah, that was terrible. And our buddy Mike took Jahmyr Gibbs. So yeah. Well,
so what you tell me is Paul did not have any.
Yeah, good. You're not on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Like, you know why Mike took Jahmyr Gibbs? Because I was vouching for it all offseason.
I think I was a Jahmyr Gibbs guy.
Oh boy! All right, let's move on here. The last NFC North team. So the Chicago Bears. Ziggy and I. What's kind of funny about this topic is Ziggy and I have been just searching up Bears topics. We were on the phone together, like, what can we talk about the Chicago Bears? And there's actually articles being written about how there's nothing to talk about with the Chicago Bears. So it's like, all right, not even the Bears guys can help us out here. And that kind of led us to the topic of, well, is it possible the Bears are just sort of being forgotten about in this offseason? Even though they're making major moves, like, have they been exhausted and now we're just forgetting about the Bears as a possible contender? And we've done contender rankings and all 3 NFC North teams have been in there, but the Bears are always left out. And when you go position group by position group in Chicago, it's star-studded. Like on defense, they have stars at every level. On offense, yeah, the receiver room is good. They just improved the entire offensive line. Caleb should be good. I know you'd think he'll be horrible probably, but he should be good. And you have a star head coach now, or a potential star head coach in Ben Johnson. And it kind of makes you wonder, are the Bears possibly the most underrated team in the league this year?
Well, it's not. I don't think it's being I think it's all being acknowledged. But like for the Bears to really be anything, I think it's an unrealistic jump from a second-year quarterback.
Is it unrealistic though? You're seeing Jaden Daniels.
He was horrible.
He wasn't horrible last year.
What were they? 5? They were.
Well, they lost 10 games in a row, but Caleb was not horrible last season. Didn't Caleb? I thought he ended the year without throwing an interception over the course of multiple games.
Like you can take a team. I don't think you can take a team who had 5 wins and say that this team's a contender.
But
like,
why?
Look at the Texans.
But we're not necessarily talking about Super Bowl contenders here, but you can absolutely go from 5 wins to winning your division.
But look at a team like the Texans, right? Like they were horrible. Stroud was great, and they went into the playoffs, won 9 games, but like they're not like a real threat.
Well, what about the Commanders? Commanders were terrible. Jane Daniels was sick.
If you win a
Daniels was sick.
Game,
Caleb was awful.
That's something.
I just don't think Caleb was like Caleb. Let's see here.
Like he has a bad year, then it's all of a sudden like, he's great, like they're good, of course, but like I don't think it's a realistic expectation.
Over the final 7 games, he had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick over the final 7. I know that's not laying the world on fire, but
probably 30 sacks.
I mean, yeah, like you're going to ask this guy to like take an insane jump to win maybe 9 games,
27 sacks. But I don't think it's going to have to be that insane where. This is sort of the point I'm trying to make with the Bears team.
He's not very good. He's not Jaden Daniels.
But part of the problem in Chicago, and it's been the problem there for a long time, is that there's just like there's no stability in that organization. And Ben Johnson, the hope is, and it seems that he's on the right track right now, is that you can come in. He's going to come in and he's going to start, making these processes efficient and making this a serious football team. It's like think about some of these teams here. The Lions joke. Dan Campbell comes in, straightens it out. The Vikings were in really bad shape. Like, was there any reason the Vikings should have won 14 games last year and 13 games 2 years before that?
They're still a joke.
But again, for a team that's won 13 and 14 games 2 of the past 3 years with Kirk Cousins, who people didn't believe in, and then Darnold, who people didn't believe in, that's a testament to what Kevin O'Connell's built. And same thing with, I know D'Amico Ryans has had CJ Stroud, but that Texans defense is awesome now. And that's a lot of D'Amico. If Ben Johnson comes in and is as effective and influential and creative as all these guys are saying he's going to be, I think Caleb could take a huge step forward. I think that's possible.
He has to change the way he plays his game completely.
But that's what they're trying to do with him.
Okay, then if he does, then you sure.
And you added Luther Burden, you added Colston Loveland with the 10th pick in the draft. Like this Bears team, unless if they really bears it up, this should be really good.
I mean, the current Caleb Williams play style, he has to change completely.
And that's what you were saying when he was drafted.
Bring a new head coach to completely change his play style, which is what they've been talking about all offseason.
Then if he changes his play style from college, then okay. Well, he can take that insane jump. I think it's a lot to ask.
Well, that's what happens.
I don't think it's an insane jump to ask a guy to go from like 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and say, can you take a few fewer sacks and throw the ball a little bit better?
Like, is it crazy? I think Caleb goes for 4,230.
But I think going from 5 and 12 to being talked about like a contender is a big jump.
Well, no. We're not saying, again, not a Super Bowl, not necessarily a Super Bowl contender, but a team that gets into the play, like a team that could compete for the North and it maybe be a wild card team.
Win a playoff game.
They're not beating Detroit.
Probably not, but like,
I mean, could they get a wild card? Could they get a 7 seed? I mean, maybe.
Well, I mean, how many games? They had a 10-game losing streak, right? In that 10-game losing streak was the Hail Mary to the Commanders, the blocked field goal when they lost to Green Bay, a Vikings overtime loss, the Thanksgiving disaster where they had the clock management BS, and a 6-3 loss to the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, where, I mean, that's 5 games.
You have a QB who's scoring 3 points against the Seahawks.
No, the Seahawks have a good defense, but Seahawks have a good defense. But what I'm saying is, there were some really bad games in there.
He has to be a lot better.
He does, but I think I don't think it's crazy to say that the Bears could be. And what's their win total? Isn't it like 8.5 or 7.5?
Yeah, people are expecting improvement from this team, though they were expecting it last year too, because people said they went 7 and 10.
Okay, but I can
all the pieces they added.
I can also see them at 8 and 9, and that's not necessarily good.
No, it's not. But I'm saying I think
hit the win total. I guess it's an improvement.
I think that there's a chance that the Bears. And this is what I mean. I think they could shock some people. I really do. Since they're the Bears, it's kind of hard to say they will. But I don't know, man. It's a really good roster.
I think they're better than you guys.
Well, then now you're talking about a 1 seed. Now you're talking about a 15-win team.
I think it goes Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota.
Well, that's not a crazy take, though. Like I don't think. And what I'm saying is, I think there's a lot of people who think the Bears are just going to come out here and win like 6 games. Like no, they should be good.
Caleb plays. I think he plays horribly. Like I hate the running around and all this, but
that's why he got sacked 68 times.
Yes,
68.
But
sacks.
He can throw the ball like McCarthy can't. So that's why I would take the Bears.
Well,
like he's proven he can throw the ball. He can throw the ball.
Yeah. You know, I had a dream last night that that JJ McCarthy had his debut and he got off to a red. This is exactly how it went. Red hot start, 2 touchdowns early, and then I had to leave. I couldn't watch the game. We wound up losing 18-15 to the Bengals. We were originally playing the Steelers, and we were going back and forth, and then they switched teams middle of the game, and we ultimately lost 18-15.
I've had those dreams before. It's weird.
The Bengals. And I was like, it's a solid start, but JJ looked good. I mean, he had an arm, Jack.
You guys dream about football?
Very rarely. But to this, you know why? Because right before bed, we were talking about the show topics yesterday and what we wanted to do for the Vikings. And right before bed, I just Googled JJ McCarthy to look up some news on him. It's crazy how dreams can get impacted by that.
I had a dream that Rodgers hoisted the trophy with black and gold on. I woke up a little sticky.
Was this Harry Potter?
What is it? Isn't lucid dreaming when you're able to control your dreams?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Dreams is my favorite part of the Parva Naturalia.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Wait, say that again.
Our next topic.
On Dreams is my favorite part of the Parva Naturalia.
Jack, what is that? Wait. I actually think this would be funny. Can you, Jack, try to guess what that means?
Let's repeat it again.
The Parva Naturalia
Is part of what? Or was
On Dreams is my favorite part of the Parva Naturalia. But this is basic Giles Road.
The Parva Natural. That's your sleep cycle. When you're in a deep sleep. It's called your Parva.
I like it. I think that's a good guess as far as any.
Is that
It's
right?
a good hustle.
What is it?
No, it's a title Giles Arome came up with to talk about like selection of short works Aristotle wrote on natural philosophy. It's like Sense and Sensibilia, on memory, on sleep, on dreams, on divination, on the length and shortness in life, and then on youth, age.
Oh,
age,
okay,
life, and death.
okay. I'm following.
So it's close.
Yeah, you were close.
Fred Miller's got a nice little translation of it you can go read along with Day Anima.
So
+5.
Enemas?
yeah, so we've been dreaming. We've been dreaming on this show about football a little bit. We're ready for the season to come. All right, we'll wrap up. I think we pushed the awards. We had a little fun award segment. Why don't we push that to the Wednesday recording? And we can get into here. This should be a pretty fun little game that we're going to play. We're going to come up with. Well, no, it's going to be a draft. It's going to be a draft.
I know.
We're going to draft musicians for a concert. Like if each of us individually were to put on a music festival, we're going to draft musicians. I think. Do we want to go 4 rounds?
We'll go
Sure.
4 rounds. This will
All
be
right.
an unusual draft.
We'll go 4 rounds.
Ziggy's will be
and we're
terrible.
drafting them like if they performed right now.
Yeah, they perform right now. So yeah, you like if you take,
Blind Willie Johnson.
I can take like the Who.
Well, yeah, you can take the Who, but they're the Who when they're in their 70s, or are they in the 80s now? The Who?
Oh, it'd be like the current.
No, like right now, you're
Yeah,
putting on. I'm just saying, my music festival is going to be Paulapalooza. That's what I'm calling it. It's Paulapalooza.
ZigFest.
ZigFest.
I don't know,
and then
Miles,
Zach will decide if he's going to Paulapalooza, ZigFest, or what is it, Jack's Jam.
Jack Jam's could be good.
Jack's Jam.
Yeah. Jack Jam.
Jack
Jack
Fest.
Jam.
Oh, you said ZigFest, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack.
The Jack Jam.
Jackathon.
Yeah, something like that.
That could be it.
No.
Yeah.
We can't call it Jackathon.
Yeah, can't call it Jackathon.
No.
Okay.
Welcome to the Jackathon. Ziggy, you are first up.
Yeah. Okay. We'll call it Jackathon. So let's determine an order here. All right. Zach, give me three numbers.
753.
3 numbers 1 to 3.
157.
No, 1 through 3. Stop it.
213.
All right. It goes Ziggy, Jack, Paul for this draft here.
I had some help.
I don't even know if we're going to have these lists might be completely different. I don't know if we're going to have any. The only real potential of stealing is probably me and you, Jack. I don't know.
If
Ziggy.
Ziggy,
I'm opening up with an all-time snipe.
if you don't,
This isn't who I would
I
pick
won.
first, but I think this is an absolutely electric concert. I'm taking Bruce 1-1.
Fuck you, Ziggy. Are you kidding me?
Dude,
Wow.
Bruce Springsteen live. is
all
unbelievable.
right. So this is
I'm
good.
opening my show. Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, Stevie Van Zandt are coming out there.
you let
They're
the
getting
clear,
people ready.
you
That's
let
my
the, you let the
1-1.
clear 1-1 slip. Clear 1-1. Katy Perry. I'm taking Katy Perry.
That's a mistake.
She lights the place on fire. Bruce is old and boring. Katy Perry lights the place on fire.
I can't
People,
believe
I don't
you
know
took
what you're going to
Bruce.
do now. You. I don't think you have 3 other picks. I think you just assumed Bruce was coming right down the hatch.
I did assume Bruce was going to be
The
there.
clear top 2 are off the board.
Oh, Paul's first. Can I guess your first one?
Yeah.
Is it Olivia?
No. Olivia, as everyone knows on this show, big crush on Olivia Rodrigo here, but she's not quite headlining this concert yet. Maybe we'll see if she falls.
Fort Minor.
I mean, now here that's an interesting point, Zach. If I did draft Olivia, she would be then I could have an interaction. But let's go. No, I'm gonna take Taylor Swift. I mean, I think that'll be that would be electric. Can you imagine the crowd getting Taylor with what she's doing right now?
You
Pretty
just
crazy.
14-year-old girls.
No, I think it's more like
yeah,
30.
that's not the audience I want to attract.
Stop it. That's the Olivia Rodrigo route.
You get high school girls.
So I'm getting Taylor Swift, and then I'm going to take Paul McCartney. I think if you get a Beatle there, you have a Beatle and Taylor Swift. That's a good start to a music festival. Paulapalooza is off to an
I
electric
think
start.
Katy Perry tops both those two at the same time.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see who you're pairing. I mean, now I'm a little worried about Ziggy now. I didn't think he was going to be a problem, but he is. All right. So we go over to Jack.
Well, I already went with Katy Perry.
Who's joining Katy Perry? And this the way this is going to work. It's like, they come out and do like 5 or 6 songs each, or if they're having a good time, they keep going all night.
Mitchell Musso, maybe. Emily Osment.
Mitchell Musso.
There's Miley Cyrus. She's good.
Miley Cyrus actually would be pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
Miley Cyrus would be fun.
That's Hannah.
Got the old bands. What's a band that I like? I like John Mayer.
John Mayer's good.
I'm going Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus?
Miley Cyrus and Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus.
That's the most electric duo in the world.
Now, if he gets Miley Cyrus, does he also get Hannah Montana?
Of course, yeah. The same person.
They're the same person.
No, they're different people.
Yeah, she can play Hannah Montana songs. I think we can permit that. Ziggy, is that cool with you?
Came in like
sure.
a wrecking
All right, Ziggy,
ball.
you got the turn here.
Easy turn. We're taking Kendrick.
Kendrick.
Ziggy's gonna have a free fire concert.
We're taking Kendrick, and then we're following it up. We're getting the band back together. We're bringing a Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Nah, Coldplay.
All right, Kendrick, Radiohead, and
You
Bruce.
can't tell me that the Bruce into Kendrick into Radiohead is not going. It's a little schizophrenic, but it's going crazy.
Yeah, this is a good concert. All right, Jack. So you got Katy Perry and Miley.
I'm thinking Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Ooh,
Yes.
That's a good one.
Morgan Wallen, Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus. It's over. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.
So I have Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney.
Zach is more if he doesn't make this pick.
I'm gonna go. All right, you tell me how much fun this is. Taylor Swift's out there playing a song. Paul McCartney's jamming on guitar, and you have Luke Combs come out and shotgun a beer. Middle of the song.
It's not Morgan Wallen.
I'm going Luke Combs. I take Luke, and then between two here.
Oh, we're doing 4. I forgot.
Yeah, we're doing 4. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm between Harry Styles and Ed Sheeran. They're both electric performers. Harry's a little more exciting, I think. But man, I love Ed. I'll go with Harry. His concert was crazy.
I was hoping that Ed Sheeran would slip to me in the 4th round.
Oh,
Because that's who I'm taking, Ed Sheeran.
I
think I just blew you guys out.
Ed Sheeran is amazing.
I think I legit just blew you guys out of the water. But go ahead, Ziggy.
All right, Ziggy, your last one.
This is a really tough one. I'd love to go Genesis, but I saw a video of Phil Collins being too old to play the drums, and it made me really sad. So, I can't go for that. You know what? This is tough.
Ziggy just comes out with Kanye.
I oofed on Ed
You did.
Harry over Ed. I love
You
Ed's like a top
absolutely
5.
did not. Those are not the guys to bring in.
Ed Sheeran can be like the 3rd overall.
Ed Sheeran's amazing.
Harry's
great,
Sheeran,
too.
like that's where we're going here.
Over the castle on the hill.
Who's your last pick here? Who's coming out with Bruce, Kendrick Lamar, and Radiohead?
We're finishing. People are not going to like this. We're finishing with Shabaka Hutchins.
I don't even know who that.
What?
Shabaka and the ancestors of Andre 3000 out there. I don't know. Have you ever looked? I'm sure you haven't listened to this, but this is unbelievable.
I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. Ziggy was winning until he came up with that.
Until
You don't understand. I'm trying to give people a transcendent experience, and Shabaka at the end is just going to lift everyone up.
Everyone leaves at the end.
You can bring floating points there. I'm trying to give people a mystical experience at the end of this.
So here you go, Zach. Right? Which concert are you going to? Which music festival?
This should
you
be
close.
You got ZigFest, which features Bruce Springsteen, Kendrick Lamar, Radiohead, and Shabaka Hutchins. You have Jackathon, which has Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus, Morgan Wallen, and Ed Sheeran.
I mean, come on.
And you have Paulapalooza with Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney, Luke Combs, and Harry Styles.
I mean, come on. That's a blowout. That's a legitimate blowout.
I don't know if it's a blowout, but I think I do have to give it to Jack for
Of
this
course.
one.
You're going to Jackathon?
Of course.
I
Everyone's
go
going to the
Jack.
Jack.
Paul McCartney and Taylor Swift?
Just ex-boyfriends. And
Paul McCartney? Paul McCartney, Zach.
I mean,
A Beatle.
you're second, and Ziggy wasn't first until he just came out with Chewbacca. What is this, Star Wars? Chewbacca's out here all of a sudden?
I mean, Miley Cyrus and Katy
I'm
Perry.
not going to stand for the Shabaka.
Oh, I wonder.
Make a little Chewbacca noise for us for Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I should have taken Kanye. Kanye and Taylor Swift.
Kanye would've been a good one.
Acknowledge its grace, and you'll understand.
Kanye and Taylor Swift
Kanye
would have been
and T. Swift would have drawn an attraction.
That would have been a huge crowd.
Yeah, that would have drawn an
I
attraction.
can't. I'm not taking Nazis. So sorry, I'm just not drafting.
You guys have never heard someone play the flute in a transcendent manner. This is the guy who plays the
So
flute.
you make
in
a Chewbacca
transcendent
noise.
Drake also.
That's actually a pretty good Chewbacca.
Yeah, right.
manner. We're not. I can't invite Drake.
Yeah, you can't invite. Well, I mean, if you brought Drake, people would. Can you imagine Kendrick and Drake?
Yeah,
I mean, getting Wallen and Sheeran 3 and 4.
I'm upset that I didn't take Ed Sheeran.
That one.
I'm upset. But Harry Styles is awesome.
He is.
live
He's not Ed
performer.
Sheeran though. Sheeran's better.
You know what the problem is? I feel like Harry Styles like comes in and comes out. Like he has like a poppin' song for a little bit, and then he like.
Oh, dude, he was pretty, I saw him live. He was in Madison Square Garden. He was fantastic.
Ed Sheeran's like 15 bangers.
When was the last time you saw Harry Styles?
I think I saw him 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Or 3 years ago.
Irrelevant now.
Oh, stop it. No,
Imagine Firework.
Fireworks.
no, I actually think Katy Perry. I think that your last 2 picks were better than your first 2.
Don't tell us to wrap it up, Ziggy. We're in
Ziggy's
a
having
heated
I'm telling you to wrap it up. You guys don't know music. You guys have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm fun with Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
no, I'm sure it's probably good.
What should we give them? What should we give the fans? Should they give us our favorite?
What concert would you go
let
to?
them know which festival they're going to.
I want to hear Midwest Mountain Man Fest.
Oh, what's Midwest Mountain Man Fest? Yes.
All right, so there you have it.
Just call the show MQ.
I can't believe you
Yes.
stole Bruce. I thought you were actually going to take Paul McCartney, Ziggy, with the first pick. I was a little surprised.
But I've heard Paul McCartney live. Like it's fine. Bruce live is electric.
You whiffed on not taking Katy Perry.
Yeah, the clear one, the Jordan. All right, we'll see you guys later this week. Thanks for tuning in.